Fun of making a sandworm from Beetlejuice-inspired necklace, and it's gonna be a long one. They take a long time to make. So first I made the armature. I did that off camera, and that's just wire, aluminum foil, and aluminum tape. And then I like to use already pigmented clay because I hate paint. And I've already done a sculpt on the sandworm a couple weeks ago, and I painted it, and I hate it. So I decided to go back to my usual technique and use already pigmented clay. I use Cosclay. It's polymer clay that is meant to stay a little more flexible than super sculpty or a Fimo. So the thinner it is, the more flexible it is. That makes it a little bit more durable when it comes to the sculpts that I make and all that good stuff. So I am going to do this in maybe 4 or 5 bakes. So what that means is it's a process. So that I don't squish parts that I have already completed, I'm going to do it in multiple bakes, securing them in between. And you just do that for the baking instructions for whatever polymer clay that you're using. And then I have my dental tools, X-Acto knife, dotting tools, things you can find around the house, whatever you need. 90% isopropyl alcohol to break that up. If you want to get fingerprints off of your sculpts, that's a really great way to do it as well. So just doing the inside of the mouths first, and this I did in steps too because it's a snake being eaten by a snake essentially. So the outside parts I did in aluminum foil, and then I'll tape those on after the initial bake of the head. But before I can do the white part of the little head, I have to do the palate and the gums and the teeth. Now, I always pre-make my teeth, and that just means curing them beforehand. So making about 50, 60, 100, however many I think I need for my project, and then just using the tools. I just used an extruder to get the gums, and of course that's a great shot of my hand there, but extruder to do the gums, so it's nice and even, and then I don't have to worry about my hands getting any contamination in there, which you'll see I wasted or went through a lot of white trying to keep it white because my first one I used black clay as the base, and I really struggled with painting that after, and it took about 5 or 6 coats of white. So I decided that the best thing to do would be, alright, start with the white base instead. But anyone who's worked with polymer clay will tell you that that is the most difficult thing to keep flecks of dust out of. Breathe on it wrong and you've got a spot. But I think it really worked out. You'll see that in a little bit later. So I got the gums in, and I solidified those down by using a dotting tool, and it gives some great texture to when it comes to just detail, when it comes to gums and everything like that. And then I'm using a liquid polymer clay to seal those in there and act almost as a glue because you don't want those to dislodge at any time. So yeah, let's place some teeth. This is going to take a little bit of time. The initial inner snake's mouth is pretty much done. Then I move on to the outside, and it's the same uh, steps. And you can see better here, though, inside that palette too. I used a separate tool, one of my dental tools, and gave a little bit of mouth texture on the roof of that mouth as well. And it's not something that you'd necessarily see unless you were up close, but I think that the detail is uh, really cool. It really stands out. Those are finished before we bake to cure them. I'm going to use some chalk pastels to add some more color. Now these are pan pastels, they're hella expensive and you don't need to do that. You can just use a regular chalk pastel, shave it off into a powder and use a brush to apply that. It really is great for shading. Pan pastels I like though because they will mix together. So if I don't have a color like a teal, then I can do that and mix right on the palette. Yeah, just brush those on, and then I will seal those after baking and use a matte finish because I really like that. Except for on the teeth, I will go over those with a gloss. But that is not until the end, and this was only the first step. So this first bake. So these need to bake and cure, and with Cosclay though too, I cannot touch them too much in between bakes because if I bend it, it will remember where I bent it and then it will fracture. So if I'm not happy with something, that is it. That's done. And right, first bake out of I want to say 3 or 4, but oh, and here's where I'm inserting the tongue, and I'm hoping that it will be strong enough to do a lot of wears because that's how the clasp is. And so I am wearing one now as a prototype to make sure that it is nice and strong. Otherwise, I'm thinking maybe I will reinforce that base right there with resin. Right now I'm just reinforcing that with a liquid polymer clay, but although Cosclay